Have you ever felt like you're just wandering through life without a map? Like you're standing at a crossroads, unsure of which direction to take, but knowing deep down that where you are now is not where you're supposed to be? Have you ever asked yourself in the stillness of a restless night, God, is there really a plan for me? And if there is, why does it feel so hidden? And what if I told you that the reason you're watching this video right now is not a coincidence? What if this is the moment where everything begins to change? What if you're not lost at all, but simply being led to the exact point where God's most powerful plan for your life begins to unfold? You see, we often look for signs in the sky, voices in the wind, or sudden miracles to confirm that we're on the right path. But the truth is that the deepest transformations often begin with a whisper, a quiet stirring in your soul that tells you there's more. Don't give up. Keep watching. Today's message isn't just another word of comfort. It's a divine interruption. It's heaven pulling back the veil to show you the direction you've been crying out for. The plan that God designed specifically for you, with your scars, your doubts, your hidden tears, is far more powerful than anything you've dared to imagine. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. But for this revelation to truly reach you, you need to make a conscious choice. Right now, I want you to pause everything else, not just around you, but inside of you. I want you to engage your soul like never before. Hit the like button not just as an action, but as a statement. I'm ready to receive. Subscribe. If your spirit whispers, this is my place, I need this, and most importantly, comment below these sacred words. I am hearing his voice. Let this be your first step, your spiritual signature that says, yes, Lord, I'm listening. When you write those words, you're doing something far greater than interacting with a video. You're initiating a chain reaction. You're aligning yourself with God's divine algorithm, his invisible network of grace that brings messages like this not only to you, but to others who are silently crying out for answers. Your comment becomes a spiritual ripple that reaches someone else's desperation. So stay with me. From this point forward, we're not just watching a video, we're entering sacred ground, because you're about to discover that what you thought was a delay was divine preparation. What you saw as confusion was the crafting of a deeper purpose. Let's begin this journey together, step by step, through the spiritual blueprint that God himself wrote for your life. And if you stay with me till the end, you'll realize you were never off track. You were simply being positioned for the promise. If this already speaks to your heart, write in the comments, I am hearing his voice. Let's begin something sacred together. Long before you took your first breath, before your name was ever whispered by your parents, before your heart ever beat inside your chest, there was a plan. A divine, sacred, carefully designed blueprint with your name written across it in heaven's ink. You are not a product of random chance. You are the result of intentional design. In Jeremiah 1:5, God speaks something so profound that it shakes the very core of identity. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Think about that. You weren't just seen, you were known. You weren't just noticed, you were set apart. This means that before you ever prayed your first prayer, before you felt your first fear, before life ever disappointed you, God had already established a plan so precise, so full of purpose, that every detour would still bring you back to it, if you chose to trust him. But here's where it gets hard for many. Life didn't go as expected. Maybe you've been through trauma, betrayal, failure, or unbearable loss. You might be thinking, how could there still be a plan for me? But what if I told you, the pain didn't cancel the plan, it clarified it. You see, in the kingdom of God, pain isn't wasted. Every tear you cried in the dark was collected. Every moment you felt forgotten was noted. Every prayer you whispered into what seemed like silence was actually shaping your spirit to carry a destiny greater than your comfort. The truth is, the enemy didn't attack you because you were weak. He attacked you because of what was written about you. He wanted to make you forget the plan. But here you are, still seeking, still listening, still drawn to a message that pulls you deeper. Why? Because something inside you knows. You were made for more. And maybe nobody ever told you this, but there's power in simply surviving. There's spiritual authority in not quitting. The fact that you're still breathing is proof that the blueprint hasn't been erased, only delayed. And delays, in God's timing, often mean preparation for greater elevation. So let me ask you this. What would your life look like if you started living as though the plan still existed? What would change if you believed, even if just for today, that you're not broken beyond repair, but being realigned with divine purpose? Could it be that this very moment, this video, this voice you're hearing is God gently reminding you of what He wrote about you long ago? If this moved something inside your spirit, comment, "This word is for me," and share this message with someone who's forgotten they were chosen. There's a moment in every life when we look back and question the path we've taken. The wrong turns, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the seasons of silence when we begged for answers and only heard echoes of our own pain. It's tempting to believe those chapters were mistakes, wasted time, or evidence that we missed our purpose. But what if I told you that everything you went through was preparation for exactly what God planned for your life? Romans 8:28 offers a sacred truth. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Not some things, all things, even the heartbreak, even the wilderness, even the moments you felt invisible and forgotten. That job you lost, it humbled your pride and opened your eyes. That person who walked away, they left space for someone who could love you the way God intended. That opportunity that slipped through your fingers, it protected you from a season that would have pulled you away from your calling. God's plan isn't linear. It weaves through valleys, climbs mountains, and sometimes circles back to painful places, not to torment you, but to transform you. You've been walking through fire, but it wasn't to burn you. It was to forge you, to make you strong enough to carry what's coming next. Let's look at Joseph. Sold by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, falsely accused, imprisoned. It seemed like everything was going wrong, but every step, every betrayal, every delay was positioning him closer to the throne God had reserved for him. Had he not endured the pit, he would have never made it to the palace. Had he not faced the prison, he wouldn't have had the perspective to govern with mercy. And it's the same with you. That night you cried out, and no one responded. Heaven was listening. That season when everyone else seemed to be moving forward while you were stuck, your roots were growing. God doesn't rush fruit that matters. He doesn't skip over steps. The detour was never a deviation. It was disguise, divine disguise. Here's what's hard to accept. Sometimes the struggle was necessary, not because God wanted you to suffer, but because your calling requires depth, and depth comes through fire, not comfort. So now, let me speak directly to your spirit. Stop disqualifying yourself because of where you've been. Stop thinking the plan was cancelled because you fell off course. What if you didn't fall off at all? What if God allowed the fall to build in you the resilience you'd need to rise? There is glory in your scars, there is strength in your survival, and there is a plan still unfolding, even now. If this echoed your own story, write in the comments, "I know He hears me." And remember, liking this video helps it reach someone else walking the same painful road. How many times have you prayed for something and felt like heaven was silent? Like your requests were floating into an endless sky, never to return? The unanswered prayers, the dreams that feel like they're gathering dust, the promises that haven't come to pass. It's easy to feel forgotten, but what if I told you that the delay isn't punishment? It's protection. Isaiah 60:22 says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Not when you think it's right, not when the world tells you it's time, but when He knows the soil of your life is finally ready to bear the weight of what you've been asking for. There's a reason God doesn't always give you what you want the moment you ask. Imagine a child demanding the keys to a car. Without preparation, it's not a blessing, it's a danger. And in the same way, what you're praying for could destroy you if it arrives too early. Sometimes God is not just working on the what, but on the you. He's not just preparing the blessing, He's preparing the vessel. You've asked for love, but He's first healing your heart. You've prayed for success, but He's cultivating humility. You've begged for influence, but He's shaping your integrity behind the scenes. Because God would rather you wait in hiddenness than lose your soul in exposure. Look at David, anointed as king while still a shepherd. He didn't ascend to the throne the next day. No, he went back to the fields. He fought lions and bears. He served a king who tried to kill him. And all the while, God was shaping a warrior heart inside a humble shepherd. David had the anointing, but not yet the maturity. And God loved him too much to rush the process. Your story might feel stuck in the middle. You've seen glimpses of what's possible. You've tasted the dream. You know you were made for more, but nothing's moving. Hear this, stagnation is not always a sign of failure. Sometimes it's a sign of deep internal growth. Roots don't grow in movement, they grow in stillness. And the deeper the root, the higher the rise. When you feel delayed, ask, what is God building in me that I can't yet see? What part of my heart still needs healing before I can carry the weight of His promise? He's not denying you, He's designing you. God sees what's ahead, the weight of the blessing, the pressure that will come with the promotion, the warfare tied to your assignment. He loves you too much to let you walk into a battlefield unarmed. So let this be your encouragement. The delay doesn't mean never, it means not yet. And not yet means that something greater is still being prepared. Keep showing up, keep trusting, keep walking. If you've ever felt stuck in the waiting, type in the comments, I am hearing His voice. And don't forget, sharing this video may give someone else the courage to keep waiting too. Have you ever asked yourself why certain things had to happen the way they did? Why the betrayal? Why the loss? Why the silence? Why the heartbreak that still echoes inside your chest at night? Sometimes we look at the wreckage of our past and wonder if any of it meant something, if any of it had value beyond the suffering. And what if I told you that not a single tear you cried has been ignored by God? Psalm 56:8 reveals something almost unbelievable in its tenderness. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Think about that. Every tear, not just the public ones, even the ones you wiped away in secret, even the ones that fell silently onto your pillow when you thought no one saw. God saw, and He kept them. Because in the kingdom, pain isn't wasted. It's transformed. Look at the life of Joseph. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. If anyone had a reason to question God's plan, it was Joseph. And yet through it all, God was weaving a masterpiece. Not in spite of the suffering, but through it. The pit was a pathway, the prison was preparation, and the pain. That pain became the platform for Joseph to save an entire nation. See, the very thing that tried to break you might be the very thing God will use to bless others through you. But how? How can your suffering become sacred? First, by surrendering it. When we hold on to pain, it festers. But when we place it in God's hands, it transforms. Just like the boy who gave his 5 loaves and 2 fish, it wasn't enough. But in Jesus' hands, it fed thousands. Your brokenness becomes abundance when it's surrendered. Second, by testifying. When you speak what you've been through, it opens doors of healing for others. There's someone walking through the same fire you survived, and they need to hear your voice calling back from the other side. And third, by refusing to be defined by what hurt you. You are not your trauma. You are not your losses. You are not what they did to you. You are who God is shaping through it all. Some of the most anointed people you'll ever meet have also walked through the deepest valleys. Because God often hides his greatest warriors in seasons of suffering. It's in the fire that character is refined. It's in the crushing that oil is produced. So if you're walking through something right now that feels unbearable, hear me. This is not the end of your story. In fact, it might be the chapter that changes everything. God is not finished with you. He is a master artist, and every broken piece of your life is part of the mosaic he's building. What felt like a mess will one day become your message. What felt like devastation will one day become a declaration. If this touched your spirit today, comment, "This word is for me." And if you believe someone else needs to hear this, send it to them. You never know how close they are to giving up. You've prayed, you've cried, you've waited. And the silence, it's deafening. You've stood at the door of heaven, knocking until your knuckles bruised, wondering if anyone on the other side even hears you. You've whispered, maybe even screamed, "God, where are you?" And yet, nothing, no answer, no breakthrough, just waiting. But what if I told you that the delay you're facing isn't punishment, it's preparation? In our fast-paced world, waiting feels like suffering, but in God's kingdom, the wait is never wasted. It's holy ground. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." Notice that it's in the waiting that strength is renewed, not in the receiving. The waiting is where your wings grow. It's where your roots deepen. It's where your faith matures. Think about David, anointed king as a young boy, but didn't sit on the throne until decades later. Why? Because he wasn't ready yet. Not in skill, but in soul. God wasn't just preparing the throne for David, he was preparing David for the throne. Or Abraham, promised a son when he was already old. But God waited 25 more years. Why? Because faith that's tested is faith that lasts, and promises that take time become the pillars of generations. You see, what looks like delay is often divine orchestration. God is aligning things you can't see, protecting you from doors that aren't ready, shielding you from people who can't go where He's taking you, and building something inside of you that can withstand the weight of the blessing when it comes. Because what good is a promise if you're not ready to carry it? Sometimes what we think is rejection is actually redirection. And what feels like a pause is really a holy process. It's in the waiting that you learn to walk by faith and not by sight. It's in the silence that you develop a spiritual ear to hear God's whisper. It's in the unanswered prayers that you discover the deeper desire beneath the surface, and find out that sometimes the gift is not the answer, but the intimacy that grows in the asking. Let me tell you something powerful. God is never late. He's never early. He moves in perfect time, and when He shows up, everything changes in an instant. What took years to build can be transformed in a moment, but only when the moment is ripe. So if you're waiting, wait well. Don't just survive it, sanctify it, use it, grow in it, because on the other side of waiting is a version of you that's unshakable. And when the day comes, and it will, when God opens the door you've been knocking on, you'll look back and say, "I'm glad He made me wait." If this speaks to the season you're in, comment, "I know He hears me." And if you've been blessed so far, like this video, it helps this message find someone else who feels forgotten. Let's be honest, you're tired, not just physically, but in your soul. There's a heaviness that doesn't go away with sleep. You smile in public, but your heart limps in private. There are nights when the pillow knows your tears better than anyone else knows your truth. And maybe, just maybe, you've asked God, "Why does it have to hurt so much if you love me?" But what if I told you that what feels like breaking is actually birthing? You see, before a seed can grow into something beautiful, it has to be buried. Before the flower blooms, the shell must break. And before God brings forth something new in you, He often allows a breaking that feels unbearable. But it's never without purpose. Think of Jacob. He wrestled with God all night, desperate for a blessing. But in the struggle he was broken, physically and spiritually. His hip was dislocated, and he walked with a limp for the rest of his life. But that limp, it became his legacy, because in the breaking, Jacob wasn't just changed. He was renamed. He became Israel, a prince, a nation, a father of a people. Your pain is not pointless. The tears, the questions, the wounds that no one sees, they're not signs of God's absence. They're often evidence of His work. Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Not just nearby, close, intimately near, whisper close. When your heart breaks, heaven leans in. There's something sacred in the suffering, a kind of clarity that only comes in the dark, because it's in those moments when all you have is God that you realize He's more than enough. Jesus Himself was broken before the breakthrough. The cross came before the crown. The Garden of Gethsemane came before the resurrection, and in His breaking, in His agony, you and I were born into grace. And so now, when you break, when your soul cracks open under pressure, God is not punishing you. He is preparing you, not destroying you, delivering something through you. Pain births purpose when it's placed in the hands of the one who redeems all things. So yes, it hurts. Yes, it's hard. But no, you are not alone. And no, this is not the end of your story. You are not being buried. You are being planted. And something beautiful is about to break through the surface. If your spirit is stirring right now, write in the comments, "This word is for me." And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not just to a channel, but to a journey, to a community that believes even the broken can be chosen. Have you ever felt like your life is stuck in a dry place? Like you've been walking in circles through a spiritual desert, praying, hoping, surviving, but never truly arriving? Maybe you've whispered under your breath, "God, how long will this last? Why does it feel like I've been forgotten out here?" But here's what no one talks about enough. God does some of His most powerful work in the desert. The Israelites spent 40 years wandering in the wilderness, not because they were abandoned, but because they were being transformed. The desert wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was a refining fire, stripping away the slavery mindset of Egypt and replacing it with the identity of a free people, ready to inherit the promised land. You see, deserts are deceptive. They look empty, but they are full of divine activity. In the silence, God speaks most clearly. In the stillness, He reshapes your soul. In the solitude, He becomes your source. And here's the truth. God is not delaying your promise. He's developing your character, because a gift received too soon becomes a curse. You must be strong enough to carry what He's preparing for you. Elijah, the prophet of fire, had to walk through the wilderness. After calling down fire from heaven, he ended up under a tree, burnt out, asking God to take his life. And what did God do? He didn't rebuke Elijah's weakness. He fed him, let him rest, and whispered truth into his soul. God doesn't just see your desert, He walks with you in it, like He did with Hagar when she was cast out, like He did with Moses when he fled Egypt, like He did with Jesus, who Himself was led by the Spirit into the wilderness for 40 days. Why? Because the desert is not a place of exile, it's a place of encounter. Deuteronomy 8:2 says, "Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart." The desert doesn't reveal God's absence. It reveals your own heart and reshapes it to beat like His. So if you're in a dry season right now, don't mistake it for a dead end. This is not your destination. It's just a chapter, a sacred detour with divine design, because soon the cloud will move, the water will flow from the rock, and what felt like endless waiting will turn into a sudden arrival. But you won't come out the same. You'll come out stronger, wiser, softer, deeper, ready to carry the blessing without losing your soul. If this message stirred something in your spirit, write in the comments, "I know he hears me." And like this video so it reaches someone who feels forgotten in their desert. They might just need this word today. Do you feel like you've been knocked down? Like life has dealt you blow after blow, and now you're barely standing, wondering if there's even a reason to keep fighting? Maybe you've been broken, discouraged, or wounded in ways you never thought possible. And in the midst of all this pain, you might have asked, is this all there is for me? Am I ever going to be whole again? Here's what I want to remind you today. God's plan for you is not just to survive, but to rise. There is a promise in Scripture that echoes through the ages, one that speaks to every soul who has ever been broken. For I will restore health to you, and your wounds I will heal, declares the Lord. Jeremiah 30:17. This isn't just a verse for someone else. It's a promise for you. Your story is not over. Your pain is not your destiny. God is in the business of restoration. When we are broken, we often feel as though our future is shattered, as if our past mistakes or wounds are permanent. But God doesn't work that way. The God who created the world from nothing, who parted seas and raised the dead, is the same God who can restore what you've lost, heal what has been broken, and rebuild what seems destroyed. Look at David, a man after God's own heart. He was a young shepherd anointed as king, only to be hunted down like an animal by King Saul. David spent years in hiding, discouraged, wondering if he'd ever be able to step into the role God had promised him. Yet in the middle of the wilderness, David learned to trust God's timing. His restoration didn't come when he wanted, but when he was ready. And David's story is your story. God is using every hardship, every hurt, every moment of despair to prepare you for your comeback. But the key is to rise. God doesn't restore you to stay down. His plan for you is to make you whole so you can stand tall again. Like Jesus told the paralytic man in Mark 2:9, "Get up, take your mat, and walk." God isn't waiting for you to feel perfect before he restores you. He's waiting for you to act in faith, to rise up in spite of your circumstances. The journey of restoration might not be quick, and it certainly isn't easy, but it is worth it. Every step you take toward healing is a victory. And as you take that step, something beautiful happens. You begin to walk in your true identity, as a child of God, made whole by his love and grace. If this spoke to you, type, "I'm rising again" in the comments. And don't forget to like and share this video so someone else who feels broken can hear this promise of restoration. Let them know that God's plan for them isn't finished yet. Have you ever felt like you're in control of your life, like you have to keep pushing, striving, doing everything yourself? Because if you don't, everything might fall apart. Maybe you've even convinced yourself that God needs you to figure it all out before he can act in your life. But what if I told you that the key to receiving his plan isn't in your striving, it's in your surrender? For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. Matthew 16:25. This passage is a paradox, isn't it? The world tells us that control is everything, that success is about pushing, grasping, and fighting for what we want. But Jesus, in his wisdom, flips that upside down. He tells us that the real victory comes in surrender, in laying down our plans, our pride, and our need for control at his feet. Think about it for a moment. What if the struggle you're experiencing right now is God's invitation to let go? What if the tension you feel, trying to make everything work on your own, is actually the thing that's keeping you from walking in His perfect peace? Let's look at the example of Jesus Himself. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the night before His crucifixion, He faced the hardest moment of His life. He asked God to take the cup of suffering away from Him, but then He said the most profound words, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. In that moment, Jesus demonstrated the power of surrender. He gave up His own will, even His own fear, and trusted that God's plan was better. This doesn't mean we stop trying or working hard, but it means we let go of the weight of trying to control everything. It's a freedom that comes when we say, "Lord, I trust you to lead me. I trust you to guide me. I trust that your plan for me is far greater than anything I can plan for myself." If you've been holding on to something, trying to control it with all your might, I invite you to surrender it now. Imagine placing it in God's hands and trusting Him to make it right. That is the path to peace, to rest, to the fullness of His plan for your life. And if you're ready to surrender your will to God's, I want you to comment, "I surrender, Lord." Let that be your declaration of trust, of faith that God's plan is worth surrendering to. Share this video and let someone else know that their surrender is the key to their breakthrough. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is the moment to do it. Let God lead you through this spiritual journey, and let His voice become the loudest in your life. In the most trying moments of life, we often wonder if we're on the right path. Have you ever felt like you've been walking through a dark tunnel, unable to see the light ahead, unsure if the journey will even be worth it? It's easy to lose hope when we can't see the end result. But what if I told you that the path you're walking, even if it seems uncertain, is part of God's perfect plan for your life? "For I know the plans I have for you," declares the Lord, "plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. God's plan isn't always immediate. It doesn't always show itself in the way we expect or on the timeline we hope for. But His plan is always working, even when we don't see it. Just like a seed needs time to grow, we must trust that God is working in the unseen. He is molding you, refining you, and preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. Consider Joseph's story in the Bible. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. It seemed like nothing in his life was going according to plan, but through every setback, God was positioning him for something extraordinary. Joseph couldn't see it at the time, but God's hand was on him the entire journey, and in the end he became the second most powerful man in Egypt, saving nations from famine. You might be in the middle of your own process right now. You might be facing obstacles that seem insurmountable or waiting for something that feels like it'll never come. But trusting the process, even when it's painful, even when it's unclear, is a declaration of faith. You are not alone. God is walking with you, and His timing is always perfect. The hardship you face today is preparing you for the blessing that will come tomorrow. I want you to take a moment and think, what is the area of your life where you're struggling to trust the process? Maybe it's your career, your relationships, or your spiritual growth. Whatever it is, give it to God today. Trust that He is working behind the scenes, even if you can't see it right now. And if you feel the weight of this message in your heart, I want you to comment, "I trust His plan." By commenting, you are affirming your faith and stepping into the process with God. You're also inviting others to do the same. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Trusting the process is an ongoing journey, and you're not walking it alone. This channel will walk alongside you, encouraging you every step of the way. Have you ever wondered what your true purpose is? What if everything you've gone through, up until this moment, all your struggles, all your triumphs, was leading you to this one purpose? Imagine if today was the day you discovered the calling that God has been preparing you for. all along. Would you be ready to embrace it? For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Ephesians 2:10. God created you with a unique purpose, a purpose that only you can fulfill. Every detail of your life, every moment of pain and joy is part of the puzzle that, when fully revealed, will show you your true calling. Just like a potter molds clay, God is shaping you and refining you to become the vessel He wants to use for His greater plans. But here's the thing, God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. You may feel inadequate or unprepared. You may think, how could I ever fulfill God's purpose for my life? I'm not enough. But what if I told you that your weakness is exactly what qualifies you for God's calling? It's not about your ability, it's about your availability to be used by Him. Consider Moses, who felt unqualified to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. He stuttered and doubted his own abilities, but God didn't see Moses' limitations, He saw his heart. Moses didn't have to be perfect, he just had to trust that God would be with him every step of the way. And God did just that. What if God is calling you to something greater than you ever imagined? What if everything you've been through, your failures, your pain, your successes, has been preparing you for this moment? You might not see the whole picture right now, but God's plan is bigger than your understanding, and He has been preparing you for something beyond your current reality. Ask yourself today, what is God calling me to do? What is the purpose He has uniquely designed for my life? Take a moment and reflect on this question. Maybe it's a new career, a ministry, or a relationship that God wants you to invest in. Whatever it is, embrace it. Even if you feel unsure, remember that God is the one who will equip you for the task ahead. All you need to do is take the first step in faith. If this spoke to you, comment below. I'm ready to embrace my calling. By commenting, you're acknowledging God's purpose for your life, and you're inviting others to step into their calling as well. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. This channel is here to encourage you every step of the way as you walk towards the destiny that God has set for you. Let's take this journey together. Have you ever felt like time was against you? That no matter how hard you tried, it felt like you were always a step behind, like God's promises were always just out of reach? What if I told you that God's timing is perfect, and the very delays you're experiencing are part of His master plan? He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. There is a divine rhythm to life that you can't always understand with your finite perspective. God's timing is something that, when embraced, can transform your frustrations into peace. The waiting period is not a sign of God's neglect, it's a season of preparation. God is preparing you for something greater than what you see now. And it takes time to mold you into who you need to become for that purpose. Think about Abraham and Sarah. God promised them a child, but they had to wait for decades before it happened. They were old, and their hope was waning, but God's timing was perfect. Isaac was born at just the right time, not a moment too soon or too late. In the meantime, Abraham's faith was strengthened, and God's glory was revealed through the miracle. In our modern world, where everything seems to be happening in real time, it's easy to get frustrated when things don't happen immediately. But God operates outside of time. He sees the beginning and the end all at once. When we trust in His timing, we trust that He sees what we cannot. Are you waiting for God to answer your prayer? Are you waiting for that breakthrough, for a sign, for a change? God has heard your prayers, and He's already at work. You're not forgotten, but you may not be ready yet, and neither is the world around you. Think about the story of Joseph. He had dreams that he would one day rule over his brothers, but it took years of hardship and betrayal before God's plan for him was fully revealed. In the meantime, Joseph didn't see what God was doing. He was in the pit, then the prison, but God was using every moment to prepare him for the palace. His waiting was not in vain. What areas of your life are you feeling impatient about? What if God's delay is just part of your preparation? What if He's not holding out on you, but He's getting you ready for the best version of your future? Take a moment and reflect. What are you waiting on today? Are you willing to trust that God is working in the background, even when you can't see it? Can you trust His timing, knowing that He has the perfect plan for your life? If you're ready to trust God's timing, comment below, "I trust His timing." Let's encourage each other to wait expectantly, knowing that God is working behind the scenes. If this message spoke to you, subscribe and click the bell icon. God is using this channel to reach those who are waiting, and together we can grow stronger in our faith, step by step, according to His perfect plan. Do you believe that the waiting is part of God's divine process? What if I told you that the hardest seasons of your life are actually some of the most crucial ones in God's design for you? That the struggle, the moments where you feel least equipped, are the moments when God is preparing you for the greater purpose He has for your life. "For I know the plans I have for you," declares the Lord, "plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29:11. In the midst of our trials, we often can't see the full picture, but that's where trust comes. In trusting God's process means believing that He is in control, even when the world around us seems out of control. It's about faith, that He is shaping us into the individuals we were always meant to be, no matter how painful or confusing the journey may seem. Think about the Apostle Paul. He was once a persecutor of Christians, and God radically changed his life. But Paul didn't go from Saul to apostle overnight. He went through years of preparation, of learning and growing. He had to trust God's process, even when things didn't make sense. Your life is a process too. Every trial, every victory, every moment of waiting is part of your journey. God is not just interested in your destination. He's deeply concerned with your transformation along the way. Trust the process, even when it feels like you're not making progress. God is teaching you lessons that will be crucial for the greater things He has in store for you. In moments of silence, in moments of struggle, God is building something powerful within you. He is refining your character, teaching you to depend fully on Him, and preparing you for a purpose beyond your understanding. The question is, will you trust Him in the process? Will you believe that He is working even when you can't see it? Will you trust that the difficulties you're facing are building you up for something far greater than you could ever imagine? If you're willing to trust God's process, comment below, "I trust His plan." Let this be a declaration of your faith that God is at work, even in the unseen. If this message has touched your heart, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on the next step of this journey. We're in this together, and I believe that the best is yet to come. Are you ready to embrace His plan, even in the unknown? It's time to trust that He is always leading you towards something far greater than what you can see right now. Stay close, because the greatest revelation is still to come. You've made it. You've stayed through this entire journey, and I want to acknowledge something incredible about you. Very few people make it to the end of a message like this, but you are here, and you are being shaped for something extraordinary. The secret that we've been uncovering about God's plan, this divine process of transformation, has led us to one undeniable truth. God's plan for your life is far greater than you can comprehend right now. You may have felt lost at times, wondering if you would ever truly understand why things happen the way they do. You may have faced doubt, but I want you to know that the waiting and the trials are part of His grand design for you. He is not absent during your struggles. He is with you, guiding every step, preparing you for the destiny He has already written for you. Let me remind you of a profound truth that ties everything together. All things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. This is the foundation of your faith. God's plan is at work even when you don't see it. Today, I want to invite you to make a declaration of faith. In this moment, let your heart rise to the truth that you are part of something greater, a divine purpose that God has been unfolding in your life since the beginning. This is the moment to declare that you trust His plan fully, no matter what has come before. Here's what I want you to do. If you felt that deep stirring in your heart today, comment below with the words, "I am trusting His plan." If you believe that God is working in your life, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You'd never know how your simple act of sharing could change someone's entire perspective on their own journey. And finally, hit the subscribe button, not just because you want to stay connected, but because by subscribing, you are declaring that you want to be part of a community of believers who are walking this journey of transformation together. As we close, I want you to take a moment in the silence. Don't rush this moment. Listen, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and just surrender to the reality that God's plan for you is unfolding right now. Allow yourself to feel His presence and peace. Trust that He's doing more than you can see, and He's leading you to places of hope and purpose beyond what you could ever imagine. You are not alone in this journey. Stay faithful, stay grounded in His Word, and know that He will guide you every step of the way. Thank you for staying until the end. You have made an impact on your own life just by listening, and now it's time for the world to see the transformation He's working in you. Don't forget to share this message and never stop believing that His plan for you is in motion. Stay in silence for a moment, listen to the music, and let God speak to you. Let this be your moment of surrender. This word is for you.